Welcome to the 2014 OU Research and Creative Activity Expo.
This afternoon, we'll be taking you through the expo, showcasing some of Ohio University's best and brightest students.
So make sure to stay with us on WOUB2 and on the online stream for the next hour as we explore the expo. You're looking at a live picture from the Convocation Center on the campus of Ohio University, home to the 13th annual OU Research and Creative Activity Expo. Good afternoon, I'm Alan Henry.
And I'm Angela Reigert. You're watching WOUB Public Media's special live coverage of the expo.
Angela and I will be taking you through the expo and showcasing some of Ohio University's best and brightest students.
Now make sure you interact with us on Twitter using the hashtag StudentExpo. If you do that throughout the program, you might win a sweet prize, Alan.
That's right, Angela. Ohio University students that tweet a photo of themselves here with one of the many presenters could win a 5-pound Hershey bar.
Yeah, but you have to be here to win. So make sure you get on Twitter and use that hashtag StudentExpo at OU Student Expo, and you might even be our winner.
And if chocolate's not your thing, there's free pizza for everyone that attends up until 1 p.m. So if you're hungry and you're not here, you really should be.
Well, the food will get you here, but Alan, these projects are going to make you stay. We've been walking around this morning, and it's unbelievable, the things that these students have come up with.
But Angela, don't forget, it's not just show and tell here today, it's also a competition. The projects here have been divided up into dozens of categories.
There's judges in each category, and the first place winner in one category will win $200. The first runner-up will walk away with $100.
There are hundreds of students displaying their research and creativity here today, so the competition is pretty stiff.
We want to show you as many projects as we can, but in order to do that, we had to recruit some help, I'd say.
That's right, Angela. We have two reporters throughout our broadcast that are going to spotlight some of the entries here today, and we're going to check in with one of them right now. Christy Lamandola is live out there on the expo floor with the presenter and their project.
Hit there.
You know, Angela and Alan, knowing that it's expo season is kind of like music to my ears right now. Or maybe it's just these guys. I'm here with Turner Matthews and his buddies Jacob and Eli, and they've created their own musical instruments. Turner, tell me about this. What are you guys doing here?
So all of this stuff I personally built and invented all of what you see before you. I got the Perf grant and I got $1,500, and so I was like, I really want to make all these percussion instruments. We're all composers, percussionists, artists, and all of this is for my senior thesis. And my inspiration was just making these really complex, never before heard sounds by making non-traditional instruments.
Okay, so let's talk about these instruments a little bit here. Like this one, do you have a name for it? What does it sound like?
I don't have a name for it, but Eli here will demonstrate. It's made out of metal plates, bell plates that I've tuned chromatically, like a keyboard. So that you get a really warm tone, but if you hear these really high kind of pitch things coming out of it, and if you combine notes together, it makes this really interesting kind of texture over top of things.
Yeah, it's very interesting. Now, I'm watching my knees right now. What are these spinny things underneath your instruments? What is this for?
So I have ceiling fans hooked up with whirly tubes attached to them. So you know those toys you played with when you were a kid? You swing them slow, they go low. You spin them faster, they go high. I got the idea, oh, if I hook them up to a ceiling fan with a dimmer switch, I can control that and have I have like 12, 13 of these things hooked up, and they make this really spacey, ethereal thing, and we can use these dimmer switches to kind of slow and speed them up and change notes.
Okay, and then real quick, I'm seeing this instrument has a crank.
Yeah.
This looks like something I've never seen before. Can you tell me about it? Show me how it works?
So this instrument I'm actually kind of the most excited about. I call it the Turner winch, and it's a personal invention. It uses this winch right here that pulls this block that is free floating. And these are all just piano wire right here, and I can show you what it does. You can hit the string and then bend it. And there's a higher one. Jake, play that one. So you can get these really interesting bending notes that really fit in with everything because they're really warm sounds and very interesting. And that's what I was most concerned about, is making things that no one has ever seen or heard to really set us apart.
All right, well, you know what, Turner? This is awesome. I can't wait to hear some music later from you guys. But that's all the time we have for now. Back to you, Angela and Alan.
Thanks, Krister. Those composers certainly kept their composure during that interview. So, on a different note, OU Libraries is celebrating 200 years of educating students and the community in Athens. The libraries are also major benefactors to the Student Expo, and we are now joined with Joyce Douglas from OU Libraries, who's here to discuss that.
First of all, I'd like to thank you guys for covering the Expo. This is probably one of my favorite events. The library does make a big contribution. All these cute t-shirts you see everybody wearing, thanks to the Vernon and Marion Alden Endowment and our Dean, Scott Seaman. He feels this is a very important event. It kind of is a culmination of what we do at the library. We give 4 awards at the library. We pick a connection award, somebody that works as a student worker or somebody that's related to us. Then we also pick a graduate and an undergraduate. They have to apply for that award. We had over 50 applicants altogether out of all the folks here at the Expo. Plus we pick an award today that we just like. There's something about it that's appealing, that, you know, I always say it makes me shimmy, it makes me excited. So, and that's probably our hardest award to pick, because what are you going to pick out of all these 800 beautiful projects?
Right, what exactly are you looking for? What would stand out to you?
Just something that we really like, something that's very creative. They put a lot of thought into it. In the past, one of our winners was somebody from the Whitmer Lab, his dinosaur project. And one of the things that we liked about it was that he was just so animated about it and so into his project and could explain it so well.
So the Ohio University Libraries are celebrating 200 years this year. I mean, that's a really long time. Are there any kind of special events planned for the celebration throughout the year this year?
Yes, I wish I would have known that I was going to be doing this today, and I could have brought a list with me. But yes, we do have events throughout the year. Our first event was on Founders Day. The lady that wrote the book Founding Fathers was here and gave a presentation. I'm sorry, I don't know her name. But we'll have various fundraising events, events with different groups on campus with the students, but there will be stuff going on all year. And all that information is always on our website, on our homepage.
What's the best part about coming to the Expo? I mean, this is the 13th annual Expo. It's been going on for a little while. I mean, there's a lot of different, topics and genres here. What's your favorite part?
Well, this is one of the biggest ones ever. When it started out, there were less than 100 people, and now there's over 800. Just the fact that it's growing, that so many people do get involved, that so many people are encouraged by their faculty members, their advisors, us at the library to take part in this. And I think it's wonderful to see all the work that students do. Let's face it, they say, OU's the party school. Well, yeah, if you want to do that, you can, but it's pretty obvious. We have some wonderful people here that are working very hard. All the diabetes research that's going on, a project upstairs. The folks in engineering, they developed a process for the folks at PassionWorks to clean the ink off the plates they use to make their flowers before they just scrub them by hand. So a lot of the projects are really community-based too. They've done various things for folks in the community. One of the projects last year helped a farmer with a problem that he was having.
All right, Joyce Douglas from OU Libraries, we really appreciate you being here today.
Well, and thank you guys for being here.
Thank you.
That's really great what Ohio University Libraries are doing to help sponsor this great event at the Expo. So let's go over some of the numbers here today, Angela.
Okay, Alan. Well, we have more than 600 projects today from 56 departments and schools.
And like we said earlier, these presenters are vying for a cash prize. Judges will award up to $200 in prize money for the top projects in various categories, which are organized by discipline or related study. And there are over $100 in cash that will be given out to the various participants.
That's a lot of money. And like you said, it could be very helpful with graduation around the corner. I mean, $100 cap and gown, $200.
Yeah, definitely. And you know what's really good is this logo right here in front of us on the desk. I mean, it looks really sharp this year.
It really does.
Literally, there's a lot of jagged edges on it. It's really sharp. So we're going to take a look at Emily Krause, who designed the logo for this year's Student Expo, and find out more about it.
You just start drawing and you come up with ideas. I just start with like some inspiration sites that I go to. I check out a lot of different design blogs, and then I go back to the people that are in charge and ask them what kind of things inspire them. And I know this year they really wanted to do something different than the past, so I mean I tried to use that for inspiration, but then also tried to add my own style to it too. So I started with like purples and oranges and a little bit like brighter colors, and then it kind of evolved into this blue and green to look a little bit more like OU style. I think this one probably was the best representation of the whole theme and everything, and really like pulled together like what the Student Expo is about. And I ended up with a theme of shaping the future. Each of these shapes represented all of the different people and exhibitions that were going on at the expo. Inside of the Ohio, it's like little like tidbits of like molecules or atoms, which are just signifying like innovation and science and research. It's great to be able to like create something that represents everyone else's awesome ideas. It'll be really cool to be able to be like, yeah, I did the logo for that. So I don't know, it's a really cool thing for me to be able to see my work that public right before I graduate too. For something like this, like if you have the confidence to just like be creative, then I think anyone would be successful.
She's an intern. Right now we have Maggie Mitchell with us, and she's an intern for WOUB's Acoustic Alchemy. So thank you, Maggie, for being here.
Oh, thank you for having me.
Can you just start off and tell me, what is Acoustic Alchemy?
Well, Acoustic Alchemy is actually a radio drama, and it's a partnership between the School of Media Arts and Studies here at OU, and it's also with WOUB. And we have about 5 to 10 students each semester, and we put together a radio drama with usually classic literature. And this semester we did The Lottery by Shirley Jackson.
And tell me about The Lottery.
The Lottery, well, it was actually a really interesting story to do because there's so many characters, and that played a lot into what the students were doing. We had to have multiple different recording sessions with multiple different voice actors, and it was really exciting because there was some really intense acting going on and some very intense scenes.
And this is all over the radio?
Well, the goal is to have it on the radio. We're not there yet. We're going to be putting it on the website, WOUB.
Okay,
yeah,
great.
so it'll be hosted, and it's called Acoustic Alchemy.
What are you doing here at the expo today?
Today we actually have like a mock recording session set up, and we are just like inviting people to come and sit down and read lines from the script.
Fun.
And just try their hand at vocal acting.
That's so fun. And
Yeah.
what does this internship mean for you? What will this help with your career?
Well, for me, I'm a big fan of NPR and stuff like that, and I'm a big fan of radio dramas in general, and I just like what it offers, and it's a great way to learn about literature, and it's a great way to learn in general. And I'm thinking that maybe I want a career in radio now.
Is this your first time at the Student Expo?
Yes, it is.
What do you think of it so far?
It's mind-blowing. I didn't know that it was such a
Right?
big thing.
Definitely.
Yeah, and I love it, and there's some really interesting things out there.
It definitely is.
Yeah, I haven't even been out on the floor yet, so I've just been in the perimeter.
Well, when you go out on the floor, there is so much to see, I can assure you.
Definitely. And we'll let you go do that right now. So
Okay.
Maggie Mitchell, we appreciate your time. Thank you
Thank you.
so
Thank
much.
Thank you for having me.
Thanks.
All right, now we're going to head out to another one of our roving reporters out in the field or on the floor right now. Patrick Moore is standing by with another presenter to tell us about their project.
Thanks, guys. Now, I ran into senior Chris Denhart and junior Prelo Zanonati of the Economic Society here at Ohio University. And on the top of your guys' poster board, I see Seeing Stars. But since you guys are in the Economic Society and not in astrology, this can't be about constellations.
Yeah, Pat, thanks a lot. We're not talking about constellations here. What we're talking about here is movie stars, you know, actors and whatnot.
Okay, so what did you guys research here? I mean, I see a lot of graphs, some conclusions, some introductions. What's going on here?
Well, what we're interested in with this project is taking a look at what the effect of having a superstar actor, so someone who's like won an Academy Award, for example, what effect do they have on a movie's bottom line? What's their profit? So that's kind of what we're interested in. That's what got us going on this. There's been a lot of research done, so we've got some recap of some of the old research, and then we've got some of our own results.
So what did you find out if, whether or not you put an Academy Award winning actor in a movie?
Well, we found that as a lead role, they definitely have a positive effect on the profit. In our model we ran, we see that it's significant. We can say with about a 95% certainty that they'll increase the profit of the movie by about $50 million. But what we really found is that the most significant thing here is that as you increase the movie's budget, you're going to increase its profits. If you release the movie in the correct month, your profits are going to go up.
So, how did you conduct this research to find out all these statistics?
Well, we use variables like obviously the lead actor and the supporting actor, if they got nominations or awards or not. We use the U.S. box office as a variable. We didn't want to expand because we didn't want to influence, like, we wanted to keep it close, and a lot of the literature prior to that also focused on U.S. movies. And then we used a month as a dummy variable, and then the budget, the overall budget of the movies, yeah.
Any actual movie watching, so any binge watching of the movies of these Academy Award winning films, was that involved in this research at all?
That happened, but it wasn't involved in the research.
Not very time efficient. All right, well, real fast, so what was the conclusion that you guys found out?
Well, like I said, we see as budget increases, profit increases. The summer months here are peak, summer blockbuster season, and then right around the holidays we always see that too. Leading and supporting actors having won Academy Awards definitely is a boost, but we don't really see it as a significant, really a real mover in the profit margin in the grand scheme of things.
All right, so whether or not you have Matthew McConaughey in your movie, it's really about the budget and when that movie is being released. Thanks a lot, Chris. Prelo, back to you guys.
Thanks, Patrick. I might have to, fire up my Netflix account this weekend and do some research on some Oscar winners myself.
I know, it brings back some good memories of that season.
Definitely. We are off to a great start, but we have plenty more to show you from the 13th Annual Research and Creative Activity Expo. And we'll continue to take a look at some of the one student who researched paywalls in some of the nation's biggest news organizations.
Plus, later on, we'll talk to OU professor Larry Whitmer. It's all coming to you live from the Ohio University's Convocation Center.
The student body here at Ohio University absolutely is a family.
The students support one another.
You become this unit, this big, friendly family unit.
There's this connectedness.
You feel a part of something.
Driving in on the highway and just seeing the red bricks and the trees again, it's just like coming back home.
There's great students, great professors.
You just walk around campus and think, oh my gosh, I can't believe I go here.
I feel like I matter in the community, and I feel like I matter here at Ohio University.
It's home. Athens is home. My professors really care. They care about my grades, they care about my opportunities, they care about my experiences, they want me to succeed.
They give those opportunities to the students.
My professors have been extremely approachable.
Literally, their door is always open. You can go to them with pretty much anything. Everyone knows your first and your last name and where you sit in the classroom.
I really never feel like I'm being talked down to or just being taught material. I always feel like I'm having a conversation.
And they want to share those opportunities and those experiences with us.
Welcome back to our live broadcast of the 13th Annual Research and Creativity Expo from the floor of the Convocation Center. We're joined now by Professor Larry Whitmer. Thanks for being here today.
Thanks for having me.
So you're on this council for creativity and research. What is your role with this expo?
Well, the Expo has actually been going on for many, many years here at the university, and the university supports this Expo from a number of different offices, including the Council on Research, Scholarship, and Creative Activity, which is the group that I chair.
And how long have you been involved with the Expo personally?
I've been involved with the Expo for as long as we've had the Expo. So I've had students, I've got 6 students in the Expo around the Convocation Center today. And so it's a really exciting event that we have here at the university every year.
You said you have students here. What are your students? What are some of the projects look like?
Well, I do a lot of research on dinosaurs and anatomy, and so we've got students that are studying how air flows through the noses of dinosaurs and the brain and blood vessels. I've also got a student who's looking at the development of human fetuses as well, because we actually look at the anatomy. I'm actually in the medical school. And in fact, throughout this building, there are people from all across campuses, from dozens of departments, including the medical school, and all over the university.
Do you help your students through this process in terms of getting their idea to the Expo?
Yeah, that's all part of the process, is that faculty work with their students. For many of the students, this is the first time they've presented their scholarship to anyone. And so it's part of the job of the faculty to mentor that process, to help them put it together, work with their spiel, as we call it, because each of them has to sort of go through this with the judges.
How long would you say it takes a student to get a project together and able to present it here?
Well, it differs. So I've got PhD students who've been here for 4 or 5 years, and so they can knock off one of these posters, in a week or so, because their research is very mature. Some of my undergraduates or beginning graduate students, it takes them a while. We work with a lot of how do we kind of present this research? How do you communicate what we do to a broader group? Because one thing that's interesting about the Expo is it's not like a professional scholarly conference where you go and it's a bunch of specialists. You have to be able to communicate to everybody here, and not just people in the university community. The exciting thing about Expo is it brings people from around the area, the community, school groups, and so how to talk about what you do to, in a sense, lay people or even kids is very important. So that's another sort of a subtext for the Expo, is how people communicate what they do, their scholarship and creative activity, to a very broad audience.
And I've noticed it seems like a lot of the entries, they're doing that through visuals. A lot of them have put together, these really great billboard, like poster boards, or they actually have models. So what are some visuals that your students might have with you today?
Yeah, well, we do lots of what we call 3D visualization, where we do 3D modeling of dinosaur structures. And so we actually have videos associated with our stuff. Some of them are on iPads, some of them are on laptops. We actually have a dinosaur skull that we reconstructed all the soft tissues and then 3D printed on OU's fabulous 3D printer, and that's also on display here. And that's true for folks around the arena here. And that's one of the exciting things about this, is we can see all the different ways that students present what they do. And so we have engineers that have, their robotic mechanisms that they're showing. We've got, musicians and fine arts people that we can hear in the background here. And so that's what's really inspiring and energizing about Ohio University in general, and what the Expo does for that. Because we spend most of the year as scholars and as students and as faculty sort of doing our thing. And what's really exciting about the Expo is it's when we all come together and we all sort of see what we're all doing, and we get a chance to step back and share, and it's, it sounds kind of corny, but it's actually very inspiring and makes us feel really good about Ohio University and what it has to offer, both to the students but also the community.
Definitely. Well, thank you, Dr. Whitmer, for being here today. We love having you on.
Thank you.
Thank you. And for those of you at home watching the Expo and wanting to come here, the Expo does go on until 2:30. But if you'd rather watch from home, don't worry. We've still got plenty of projects to show you.
Definitely. We're going to take a look now at one student who examined paywalls and what that means for new media.
Journalism industry has been doing as well, and they've been trying to find these new ways to generate revenue, to kind of save themselves, keep these cutbacks from affecting them as much as they have been, because the advertising side has been going so badly when it came to digital advertising. So paywalls have become this new mainstream idea. It's about 40% of daily newspapers have an online paywall now, and they've actually really been helping. So I knew a little bit about them to begin with, and I really wanted to delve into it and actually interview people at these mainstream publications who could tell me why they chose this, what has been so effective about it, if they think that this model is the one that worked best for them, if there could be any improvements, and if they thought this was the savior of the industry. So the 6 case studies I chose were the Dispatch, ProPublica, which is a nonprofit model, Wall Street Journal, the New York Times, Washington Post, and UW Scripps Company. After I had all my raw data, I edited each video down into between a minute, 2 minutes, 30 seconds to put into the iBook that I developed. And then I have about 1,000 words on each one. Each one is a chapter in and of itself. And then I have my analysis, my conclusions. And the reason I wanted to do it in iBook format is because iBook actually lets you put in interactive graphics. It's a very easy thing to develop, very easy format, and you can also put in video.
WCPO Digital was established and Lucy and Dan began to actually do that.
I just wanted to kind of do a basic guideline suggestion where if it's some paper that's considering putting up a paywall, that they can then look at my thesis and be like, okay, what is it we do? What has worked for these people? What were their thought processes? And what are the basic set of guidelines we should follow when we're looking to implement our paper? And from interviewing all of them, I found that paywalls in and of themselves are definitely effective. Things vary between models. The two main models are the pay meter model, which you would see at the New York Times, where you're prompted, you can see 10 free articles a month before you're prompted to pay. And the other one is the subscription model, which is like the Wall Street Journal, where it's basically there's some content you can always see for free and some content you always have to pay for. There's a lot that goes into it, but for overall, paywalls are effective.
And now we're joined here by Kate Irby, who's going to tell us a little bit more about her project. Thanks for joining us, Kate.
Glad to be here. Kate, what was the process like going to these different media organizations and finding out about these paywalls?
So it was about a 4-month process to get people to talk to me, because of course I'm bothering executives of these publications who can tell me about their paywalls, how it's done in the business revenue standpoint. So getting these very busy people to talk to you is a struggle. But once I got to that point, then I went to New York, DC, Columbus, and Cincinnati and interviewed these people. They were very open about their revenues, their readership. It was really great to talk to them, and I really learned a lot about the two different types of paywall models, which is a pay meter model and a subscription model, and the pros and cons of both.
You traveled a lot for this, and was this project specifically just for the Expo?
No, I'm actually in Honors Tutorial College, so when you're a senior in the Honors College, you have to write a thesis. So this is all about a thesis, and as part of those requirements, you have to do it for the Expo, which it's fun to be presenting for the Expo anyway. So.
I was going to say, it's a great way to showcase all your work, and you did so much research. So thank you for being here with us, and yeah, we look forward to hearing more about your project.
And good luck in the competition.
Thank you.
And now we're going to go to Krista Lamondola, who's out on the floor with another presenter and their project. Krista?
Thanks, guys. Now, we've all seen viral videos on YouTube, right? But how about seeing if YouTube is a good option for news videos? Well, I'm here with Amy Brighter, who actually looked into this and tested this theory out by making a video game newscast. Amy, tell me a little bit about your videos and what you did.
Yeah, I created a show called G-Cube. So it was the G-Cube show. It produced once a week, which covered basically what you needed to know in the gaming industry each week. Originally, the idea was, okay, I want to cover news and see how you can use YouTube in that way. But I decided to narrow down my topic from just general news, which a lot of that happens every week, so you really can't cover that in just like a 3 to 5 minute episode. So I narrowed it down to gaming, which was a big passion of mine. And so each week I produced an episode, got to talk about the big news stories, and I found that with YouTube, you don't necessarily want to be talking about like breaking news, because people can watch it at any time. They may not be watching the day you upload it. They may watch it months later down the road. They may watch it immediately. But so you want to be relevant, but you also want to kind of give people a reason to watch beyond just what they could find on a website. So you kind of have to kind of put in personality, put in context, and kind of explain to people, all right, well, this thing happened. Why should you care about this thing happening?
Okay, so this is kind of a format for what a news station could do with actual news stories and stuff too. This is your video, right? So tell me a little bit about the setup, how you did it, and why you think this would work for a news setting.
Yeah, well, every week, it's a very casual type of news setting, so you kind of usually have someone just kind of chit-chatting. You basically are trying to create a connection with the viewer, kind of become not only kind of like a source of news, but also someone that they feel like they get to talk to. So it was kind of very fun to look at.
Okay, and tell me about how you, real quick, just how you found out if they were successful or not.
Obviously, view count is important. Over the course of the 14 weeks that I produced the show, I got around 500 views, which is not bad. The most watched show was actually right around 55 views, which was pretty impressive, but otherwise, it was a little on the low side. Marketing wasn't my strength.
Well, Amy, very cool idea. That's all the time we have for now, but back to Alan and Angela, back at the news desk. Thanks.
Thanks, Krista. And we're joined here by Bing, Ryan, and Ty, who have come in for a landing here on our desk. And if you guys could tell us a little bit about this giant airplane.
This is our senior design project for the School of Electrical Engineering and Computer Science. We're working with existing technology on what would be Airbus A380 to add ultrasonic sensors and cameras out in the wing here to help expand a pilot's range of view, to help from wing clips or other things coming to the runway during taxiing.
How did you even come up with this idea?
It's actually a project that we're continuing from last year's senior design team. There's an FAA competition for universities that they entered it into, and so we kind of overtook the project from them this year and have been kind of running with the ideas that they started with.
Why is it important to expand the pilot's range of view?
Because from the FAA survey, about 50% the collision or airport runway incursion are caused by the lack of pilot awareness of surroundings.
Oh, wow. So you guys took over this project from last year's project. So what did you guys add to this design?
All the motors were burnt out. We had to replace those. The cameras they had weren't compatible with the computer we had. We actually ended up having to get a new computer too because we needed more processing power. And so at this point, we're going to get it to a much easier stage to hand off to next year's team than we got it this year. So it's ongoing.
This is quite the visual. How did you go about building this?
Well, we actually bought, this is a model airplane we bought online. We had a budget for our project, we bought this, and from there we've kind of just been customizing it with sensors and cameras to get.
Okay, so I'm curious, how do you get this thing around campus? I mean, it's gigantic.
It's actually, this comes off here and it's 2 pieces, so it's not as terrible to bring around. But we actually have a senior lab where we can have a locker and we have a big box to keep everything, so we don't really have to carry it around too much except when we come to something like this.
So does this thing actually fly?
Yes, it can fly, but we project more like focus on the runway incursion and excursion, so it's just like about runway, so we just need the tax or just that. We don't need the fly, but yeah, it can fly. It can fly. Yeah.
That's really cool.
So you guys have flown it. Where do you guys fly it around campus?
We haven't flown it.
You haven't flown it yet.
No.
Are you planning to?
You have to. If you win
to.
something, you need to fly this thing.
The only issue we have is if we fly it and crash land it, that's a plane that's damaged, we have to buy again. So we're going to stick to just kind of taxiing it around at low speeds because that's what our project's for. And if someone decides to fly it, that's their prerogative.
Oh my gosh, well thank you so much. I think now we're gonna go to Pat Moore, who's out on the floor, and he's gonna show us another project.
Thanks, guys.
All right, I'm now here with a slew of gentlemen from the Rusk College of Engineering, and I see you guys have something that's slightly terrifying, and it's the Battle Cat. Correct. Right? And Dylan Rhodes, Ryan Radecki, Tyler Evans, Chris Carlin, and Cody Pettit. Actually, it's Tyler Lucas. Sorry, hopefully I got all 5 of you guys' names correct. There's a lot of you. So exactly what is this Battle Cat?
It's a battle bot. We're competing in a competition in Cleveland, May 17th, trying to destroy other robots, hopefully.
And how is the Battle Cat going to destroy other robots?
Well, that weapon on the front spins very, very fast, which we'll show in a few minutes, and it drives around. Try not to get it in the camera.
This is just... When I said slightly terrifying, no, this is terrifying. So what is it exactly that it spins around that, hopefully destroys the other battle bots?
What is it destroying, or what is it spinning?
What's it spinning? Kind of the scientific,
Well,
basis of it.
it's a tumbler. It's got 2 steel bars on the outside to add to the rotational inertia of the system, and it's hollow. So that means we can go slower and hit harder.
And how long did it take to put the Battle Cat together?
We started last February, last March, and we're at it. It's what you see now, and there's still parts to be added.
Okay, and how do you go by entering into a battle bot competition?
First, you have to find one. And once you find one, you just build a robot and sign up. It's pretty simple, really.
So battle bots are not very popular in the state of Ohio?
Not necessarily, no.
So will all 5 of you guys be going to the BattleBot competition?
Yes.
And will you guys be sporting these very spiffy polos as well?
Yes.
And it says, I see ASME on the polo. What's that stand for?
The American Society of Mechanical Engineers. Okay,
and on a weekly basis, how often are you working on the Battle Cat?
Well, sometimes during midterms week, finals week, we just kind of let it sit. Probably 20 hours a week, 20 or 30.
Wow, 20 hours a week. So can you make it, let's see some tricks out of this bad boy.
It's on carpet, so it might not do the best. It's supposed to be on steel floor, and I'll show you the weapon here.
So say if someone did put their finger in the weapon, what would happen?
There would be no more finger.
There would be no more finger?
No more finger.
No more finger. Gone.
That is it. That is absolutely terrifying. Thanks a lot, guys. Good luck in the BattleBot competition. Guys, back to you.
Don't go away. We still have a lot more to show you. We're going to show you more student projects and presenters coming up live from Ohio University's Convocation Center.
I knew that I wanted to come to Ohio University from the very first time I visited here.
There's something about the campus that grabs you.
It was really comforting.
Very welcoming. It's one thing to write down your name and your GPA and that kind of stuff and send it in. It's another thing entirely to be here and see how great it is. The campus here is just electric.
Absolutely gorgeous. Everything just looked really college-like.
I looked at my mom and I said, "This is it." And she said, "The tour's just started." I said, "No, you don't understand. This is it."
Ohio University students really have a huge sense of pride in our campus, in our school, and in our education.
People don't come to Ohio just to go to college. They come here to become a Bobcat.
It's a really unique atmosphere.
Bobcat pride is having that natural camaraderie.
Bobcats are just happy to be Bobcats.
My favorite time of year at Ohio has to be homecoming.
When the alumni come back, you can see that the love of this university doesn't fade.
Once you're a Bobcat, you're always a Bobcat.
Welcome back to our live broadcast from the 13th Annual Research and Creative Activity Expo from the floor of the Convocation Center. Now, our broadcast may be starting to wind down, but the fair is still hopping, so you can come check it out until 2:30 today.
Yep, and right now we have two teachers with us. We have a PhD teacher, if I'm correct, and we have a middle school teacher.
Yeah, I'm getting my PhD.
Getting the PhD as well. And they're here to talk to us a little bit about what they're doing at the Expo. So can you just tell me a little bit about why you're here and maybe who you brought with you?
Okay, well, basically in 2009, I started a studio. And the studio, we wanted to marry foreign languages with music. We don't really see that much of a difference. So we wanted to teach the whole child, not just the music and the foreign languages, but also we're always on the lookout for creative teachers. We just started crocheting, sewing, we do French, we started German. She's starting with the Chinese, the Chinese calligraphy, art, anything that the kids can do with their five senses, seeing, hearing, touching, smelling, tasting.
Right.
The aesthetics and teaching foreign languages.
Yeah. Mine is from 2010 to 2011. I did this after-school program in Washington, D.C. for an urban Title I school. And then I designed the whole calligraphy program.
Wow.
Like this one is for the, this one is the first graders, and they wrote the character. Actually, they do the clay. This is piece of fish, so they part it, and this is actually means a bean, but they make a bean. So like this part is a strawberry. So that two characters. This is second graders. So they draw a strawberry here. So they have creativity and imagination. And in this program, we just encourage them not to learn language. Actually, mostly they are using the characters to develop their imagination and creativity. And for the higher degree, like the third graders and fourth graders, they are doing the transformation. This is a rabbit, but they transform it like an animal. And this is a cow, and then they transform it like cow. Actually, this is the third graders. It's a very good one. It's a bear, but look at this one, the same.
Oh my gosh.
They transform them themselves. So they are so creative.
Right. Why do you think this kind of teaching is important?
Well, I think for me, I think that this is after-school program. We do not take care of the children during their school time. We take care of them after school. So we give them the most interesting and meaningful learning. And they have the passion to pursue their interest. And we help the parents when they are on a busy schedule. And we help the community, like we are going to do that in Wheelersburg, because there's 97% of the demographic is white people, so they want their children to be exposed to different culture and of course music, so we are doing that.
Well, what about for you?
Well, in high school, in the schools, you see that the curriculum is so set. Here it's more of a discovery. It's what is not offered in the high schools, like this little violin.
Yeah, tell us about the violin.
We use this for our little Mozart's classes.
Wow.
Yes, 3, 4, 5-year-olds, and it plays. It's not tuned, Yeah, but yeah, and in our classes they learn to play Twinkle Twinkle Little Star, and and they really enjoy it. They enjoy looking at it. It's pretty, and they touch it, they strum the strings. So yeah, just discovery learning.
Well, thank you so much for being here today. We're so happy to hear about this.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Enjoy the expo.
Yes, thank you.
And now we're going to go to Krista Lamondola, who has yet another project and the presenter. She's going to tell us more about it. Krista?
Thanks, Angela. I'm here with Patrick Epler, and he looked into a topic that's widely discussed in the U.S. and a very serious one, terrorism. Patrick, tell me a little bit about what you looked into and why this is relevant in the U.S.
Well, I really looked into the laws and legislations that have been passed, and also some of the acts of terrorism that have been committed in the United States over the years, more specifically since the 1900s. And what I found is that we found a correlation that between acts of terrorism committed by foreign people in our country seem to spur policy much more than we see happening when, say, a domestic citizen, say, commits an act of terrorism in the United States. That really doesn't seem to be much done. It's waved off as almost an every other day crime.
Okay, so when we're talking about these two different forms, what's the difference? What's an example of, a foreign act of terrorism and one that comes right close to home?
So like a foreign act of terrorism would say be like 9/11 when we have a Middle Eastern group who flies planes into a building. But a domestic form of terrorism would be maybe the most recent one where this kid went into a school and is stabbing people in Pennsylvania. I think there's a line that how do you decide what is terrorism and what is not? But when you look at the pure definition of terrorism, it is spreading fear through a group of people.
Very interesting. Now, one of the things that we talked with a little earlier was about the Miss America pageant. Tell me what happened there and why this is a problem and supports your theory here.
Well, actually over here, as you'll see in this picture, we have the 2013 Miss America pageant winner, and immediately following her, her winning the award, tweets came in nonstop accusing her of being a terrorist, being part of an Al-Qaeda group, and it's just really goes to show because she's not even actually like any sort of Muslim or anything like that. She's actually Indian, and it kind of supports what I'm saying here because as America has progressed with our anti-terrorism laws and things, it has now become rather about a person's skin color or a person's race that kind of determines terrorism rather than what the pure definition of terrorism is.
Okay, and this is something that's ongoing. It's constantly changing, as we saw here. What do you think has to happen in the future to change this perception?
Well, obviously, I think the first thing we have to start with is start making policies that don't just affect, foreign people, policies that will actually be implemented to just better the system itself. So I think in the next few years, 5 to 10 years, if we can start to get some new policies and new people in the head, I think we'll see some changes.
Perfect. All right, Patrick, thank you so much for talking with us. Back to you guys.
Thanks, Krista. We're joined here now by Zach Gibbons. He's an English teacher at Belpre High School who brought his junior class here to the Expo. Thanks for joining us today.
Thank you.
So why did you bring your class to the Expo?
Well, they're juniors, and so they're thinking about college. We want to get them on a college campus, and we want them talking with college students. What's great about this is that we have people that are excited about their research. They know what they're talking about, and so I went and trained them how to walk up to a science exhibit and get the presenters talking. And so that's what they're doing. They're walking around in small groups and learning about all sorts of stuff, which again will help them in their majors, which many of them have not even chosen. So being able to talk to young people about what excites them helps them in their college search.
Definitely. So is this something you do every year with your class?
For the last 2 years. Last year we brought 50 students, and this year we only brought the juniors, so we're just under 30.
Okay, what was the feedback you got from your students last year after they left the Expo? What did they take away from it?
Frequently, they are amazed with what people are doing. Again, once they learn how to talk to college students and graduate students and doctoral students, they are astounded with the work that people are doing. Just today I was talking to somebody about a new type of mouse that they might use for research. Again, that could change science with the idea that that mouse is more applicable, more mirrored to human beings.
So what have you had a chance to explore the floor of the Expo?
I have walked with small groups with my students and tried to model what it is to talk to college students. And they're shy, but as they start start to open up, it really helps them.
What have you seen on the floor of the Expo so far that's really interested you or drew you
Sure.
in?
My students, a lot of them have been congregating over by the music over here. They've got kind of a physics experiment on creating sound. You can kind of hear it. Last year, particularly, I haven't found them out this year, but there was a makeup artist doing zombie things, so my students were attracted to that. Video, art. I'm a fine arts person, so those are the ones I'm attracted to. But tons of great stuff on physical therapy. Just if you want it, you have it. It's here.
Definitely.
Well, thank you very much, Mr. Gibbons. We appreciate you being here, and we look forward to hearing what your students thought of the whole expo.
So do I.
Enjoy the expo. And stick with us. We still have more to bring you live from the Convocation Center, home to the 13th Annual Research and Creative Activity Expo.
When we come back, we'll talk with one student who spent her year creating costumes for a play production. That's all coming back in 1 minute. Welcome back to WOUB2's special live coverage from the Ohio University Research and Creative Activity Expo. I'm Angela Reigard, coming to you live from the Convocation Center.
And I'm Alan Henry. There are hundreds of projects on display today from OU students. And in case you're just joining us, we have been showing you some of the projects on display here today, and they are very, very impressive, Angela.
They really are, and we've seen many of these projects from a wide number of categories. And don't forget that there is a first and second prize winner for each category.
That's right. First place in each session gets $200 and second place gets $100. So a lot of people today are going to walk out with a lot of cash. Now let's check out another entry in this year's Research and Creative Activity Expo. Pat Moore is standing by with one of those presenters and their project. Pat?
Thanks, guys. Now, I ran into senior sculpture major Jared Burnthissel, and for your senior thesis, you got a little destructive. Tell us exactly what you did here, because you got your laptop here.
Yes, I'm the crazy art student that spends months laboring over his work just to have it destroyed in a matter of hours. So what you're seeing here is a document of the reception for my senior BFA thesis show, and essentially what I did is I constructed hundreds of these porcelain mallets that I had my viewers come in and destroy over the course of the exhibit in my little destruction space that I've created.
Okay, and now it looks like when they, how did you get these people to smash your art?
It's interesting because all it takes really, and all it took for this iteration of my work was to set up the space, have the work present there, and just one little smash, the detritus of one little smashed hammer on the floor was enough to cue all of my observers into participating with the work.
And how many people participated throughout the course of your show?
We had about, for this iteration of the piece, I had roughly 150 mallets that were broken. I had probably about 200 people come through the exhibit, so it was a pretty good turnout. And yeah, I really appreciated the fact that everybody caught my drift and kind of intuitively knew what to do with the work that was on display.
So yeah, and again, why destruction of art?
So I like to reimagine the role of the gallery goer as from being one of like a passive observer to someone who is more, I guess, crucially interactive with the art and can take something away from that. I get kind of bored with the static experience of someone, going to an art gallery, walking around, scratching their head and then leaving. So I try to kind of incorporate these interactive elements into my work as much as possible to give this kind of different experience for the viewer.
And it also doesn't hurt that people naturally just like to destroy things.
It's true, yeah. I find a tendency, there's this kind of like accelerated groupthink that happens when you see one person walk into the gallery, start breaking stuff. All of a sudden, everyone's tantalized by this, this sound, this kind of feeling. It's really interesting.
All right, thanks a lot, Jared. Well, I'm expecting to see this in the Museum of Modern Art one day. Guys, back to you.
Thanks, Pat. That's a great thing about the Expo. Students are allowed to just let their creative side just run free.
I know, like Pat was saying, with that, it was kind of like a social experiment. I don't know if I could walk into an art gallery and there'd be a hammer sitting there and I'd actually destroy someone's work. I don't know. That's so interesting that hammer was actually put to use.
Definitely. And coming up next, we're about to talk about something very theatrical.
Yeah, definitely. Earlier this week, one of our crew members went and talked to a student who's showcasing costumes here today at the Expo. Let's take a look.
Most of Rain Biddleman's fall semester was dedicated to Metamorphosis, a vivid stage adaptation of Ovid's first-century poem. The play brings together 6 Greek mythologies and the nature of change, all in and around a 4,000-gallon pool of water. Biddleman was in charge of overseeing the costume production for the play. With her team of 8, they made 23 costumes over the span of 6 weeks. She personally put in 300 hours to coordinate the costume shop.
We started Metamorphosis on the first day of school in the fall. First day in, we started doing things. And so on that first day, I sat down with all of my teams and I gave them their assignments and I was like, this is what you're gonna build and this is what you're gonna build. And then each of us had a discussion with the designer.
From a designer's sketch, Biddleman and her team had to drape, trace, make patterns, and fit actors with mock-up costumes before they even began sewing the actual thing.
Ultimately, my job title was costume shop manager. And so I was responsible for making sure that all of the practical things happened, as well as the actual technical making of the costume that I did. So there was, I had to take notes at all of the fittings, and I had to call actors when they were late, and I had to make sure that that no one was overwhelmed. It was a lot of hats that I had to wear at the same time.
Biddleman played the role of manager, accountant, and even counselor to ensure that her team had everything they needed for success. And she recorded everything down in her trusty binder, which is the focal point of her Student Expo exhibition.
This has got both the estimated time and the actual finished time.
Okay.
So how long I thought it would take to make it, and then how long it actually took to make each item. So it has every step of the way. It has how long to pattern it, how long to cut the mock-up, how long to stitch the mock-up, the first fitting, cutting the real fabric, stitching the real fabric, the final fitting, any finishings, which includes trims and hems.
Okay.
So there's quite a few steps in the process.
The thought process for this particular play differed greatly from others simply because of the large swimming pool actors would have to wade through. Types of fabric played a major factor. The usage of buttons or clasps, the comfort of actors in wet clothes were all things Biddleman had to consider when making the costume.
Yeah, and it's so that it doesn't hold water.
Right.
And this is a polyester, so the water just wicks right off of it.
All the hard work and hours of dedication to this project could not diminish Biddleman's love for making costumes.
I love what I do. So I love sewing and I love making patterns. Making patterns is my favorite part of it, that process.
And now we're heading out onto the floor one last time to visit Pat Moore. Pat, what do you have for us?
Oh. Thanks, guys. I'm now with Galen Miller Atkins, who is a senior anthropology major. And for your senior thesis, you kind of took us back in time. Tell us exactly what your research is about.
All right, yeah. So over the summer, I was in a little village called Dmanisi in Georgia, which is in between Russia and Turkey. And I was digging up some fossils from about almost 2 million years ago of a couple human ancestors.
Oh, and then did that kind of catapult you into doing this research?
Yeah, so I really wanted to study what are their social behaviors, because behavior doesn't fossilize. So how can we tell who these people were, how were they going about their day from the fossils that I dug up.
Okay, and exactly what were you trying to, achieve through this research?
Yeah, I really wanted to focus on stuff like, are males helping out their offspring? Are they really investing in, a family unit per se? So what I was doing was I was looking at how much energy they need per day. And if females, do they need help from their sisters or their mothers to really, have an offspring and, really raise that child.
And as far as like a demographic goes, as far as a time period, was there one kind of certain time period that you were kind of focusing in on?
Yeah, what's great about this site is that it's dated to just a very tiny slice of time. So we can know from, all right, at what point, 1.8 million years ago, this small group of hominins were doing this behavior and they were living at this area.
And what, finally, what did you find out with, what was your conclusion?
Well, what's amazing is I found out that this high reproductive cost was leading to female caretakers. So a mother was, helping out her daughter raise a child. And for the first time in human history, we have stuff that's like male investing in their family units. And just a quick aside, we have a skull that this guy lived for 2 years without any teeth.
Wow.
Yeah, which shows us that the social structure is completely different from what we've seen before because people are helping him out. They're helping him survive for 2 years.
Amazing stuff. Yeah. Thank you very much.
All right, thank you.
All right, well, I think that does it for me on the floor. Angela, Alan, back to you.
Thanks, Pat. Angela, I've really learned a lot today at the Expo, and I'm really kind of sad that we're starting to wind things down here for our broadcast.
I know, we're wrapping up, and we only have one last roving reporter for you.
Yep, so let's go to Krista Lamondola, who's going to tell us one more thing about a project and the presenter.
So I say it like Brian Kex Brown.
Kext
Brown.
Kext, yeah.
This way. Oh, hey guys. Well, I'm out here with Brian Kex Brown, and he's done something so cool. It's a whole new form of art and stuff. He's done something with 3D printing. Brian, tell me a little bit about your project.
Well, so this is the small version of it. It's a kind of higher dimensional silver sculpture with gemstones in it, which was 3D printed. And then I had to take a mold of it and cast it in wax, and then I could send that off to get cast in silver. And then there was a large-scale installation of it's the same object in the computer, just scaled up much bigger, so it's kind of like a fractal installation. That was the same information from the computer, so I just took the lengths and angles and put it all together.
So you designed this on a computer then?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Right? So tell me a little bit about the 3D printer. How big is this thing? How does that work?
It's about like that big. They have a cheaper one that I did my prototypes on, and then they have the $250,000 one in the Innovation Center. And that lays down a very thin layer of liquid out of 800 holes, and then a UV light comes over it to cure it and make it hard.
So, and this is an art piece, right?
Yeah, it's a sculpture installation.
Okay, and what inspired you to do this?
I'm really interested in crystals. I love science and higher dimensions and things of that nature.
Well, it's very cool to see this come to life. Brian, thank you so much for talking with us today. Back to you, Angela and Alan.
All right, well, we're here with Pat Moore, and he was one of our reporters today. Pat, what did you see out on the floor?
Well, first of all, I had a great time out on the floor.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of interesting stuff out there. One, though, that really kind of stood out to me was the sculpture major, Jared, who had set up his final art project was people smashing his own art and getting him to smash it, and it was honestly it's something straight out of the Museum of Modern Art.
Yeah, that was amazing to me. It really was. Alan and I were talking about that. I cannot imagine going up and smashing someone's art, but apparently people did it.
And it was sociological too, to get people to smash his own art. And of course, also the battle bot was awesome and terrifying at the same time.
That looked like it was fun.
And also, I'm a big movie buff, so it was kind of fun to find out that even if you have an Oscar in your film, that doesn't matter all the time.
Right.
Definitely. Well, thank you, Pat, and thank you, Krista. We really appreciate all your help running around on the floor today, so we didn't have to. Great work today. And that does it for our broadcast of the 2014 Research and Creative Activity Expo.
Well, our program may be ending. The expo is not over, so it goes until 2:30. If you have time to stop by, we really encourage you to do so. We all had so much fun.
Definitely.
I did.
Thanks for watching, and you guys have a great afternoon.